Good evening. In this video I'll be showing you how you can validate forms in Laravel. So first we have this function doCreateUser, which is executed when a form is submitted. So specifically it is processing the user creation form. So if you go to the routes.php file, this is the one. So whenever a form is posted in this following path, the doCreateUser function in the admin controller is executed. So if you go to the admin controller, the function is in here. So currently it has no validation included. So whenever we create a new user and submit it, it will execute. So if you try it now, create. So the user is created even though we haven't entered an email. So if we check here, okay, there's the row that we've just added. So the email is empty. So this should not happen because it should be validated so that we can check if an email is actually entered. So to use form validation in Laravel, you need to go to the top of the controller and use the validator class. Okay. So now here we can create a validation. So we say validator and then use the validator class and then the make method. So this make method accepts two arguments. The first one is the form input. So calling the all method in the request gets all the data that's inputted by the user in the form. So it's like saying $_post, but in Laravel you do it this way. So this gets all the form inputs, and then the second argument is an array containing the validation rules. So each item in the array should correspond to the different fields that you are validating. So if we inspect this, we should get the name attribute. So the value that you've added in the name should be used as the key. So email, and then we have password. So we say here email and then password. So now for each of these items we need to add the actual validation rule. So for email, we need it to be an email value, and it should also be required. So here we have used two validation rules separated by the pipe symbol. So for the password, it should also be required, and then it should have a minimum value of 6 characters. So if you check the Laravel documentation, you can see all the information. So it's taking too long. So now we have this validator, and now we can check if it has failed. So if validator fails, so if this is executed, there's an error in the form. So what we do is to redirect back to the route. So the route that the user is using, so user create. So this is the actual page where we will redirect the user if the form has failed the validation. So redirect to user create, and then with the user input. So what this with input method does is to return the old user input. So it temporarily saves it into the session so that it's available in the form by calling the old method. So if you have an email field with the name of email, you say old and then email. So this will output the value that was entered by the user. So we'll take a look at that later. So for the validation errors, we call the with errors method. And then this method accepts the validator as its argument. So now we have to go to the create user view. So admin and then create user. So this is the file. Here you can see that we are including the template alert. So at include and then partials.alert, which means it is in the resources, views, partials, and then alert. So if we check, this is the actual code that we're executing. So this checks if there are any errors. So this returns true if this is executed. Which means that we're outputting this. So what we do is look for all the errors and output it inside the list item. So to get all the errors, you just say errors and then call the all method, and then each item would now contain the actual error message. So if we check, let's try to submit. So let's try to submit without anything. So now we get the errors. So email field is required and password field is required. So if we type a non-email value here, so let's just change the type for now so that the client-side validation isn't triggered. So like that, and then enter a password with only 3 characters. So create. So now it's saying that password must be 6 characters and email must be a valid email address. So that's how validation works. If you go to the Laravel documentation site, you can see information about validation here. Okay, that's it.